remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. What's up, everyone? I'm the Kaiju no Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network. And today it is that time again. Time for the list you have all been waiting all year long to see. My worst movies of 2024. Now, as I had said in the best of list, I have not watched every movie this year. I have not wasted my time with Craven, with Borderlands, with Joker and Venom, so those will not be on this list. I'm sure there are some movies that are worse than what I have on this list, but you know what? I didn't watch them, and I have no intention of watching them. I definitely have no intention of watching Craven, Joker, and Borderlands anymore. Alright, so with that said, let's get started with my number 10 pick, Transformers 1. What? No, sorry. Wrong script. Okay. Number 10. It was an interesting year for Christmas movies. We got two different types of Christmas movies that dealt with Santa in a way. And I was like, ooh, these both might be pretty bad movies, but they're not exactly terrible. But and that is Dear Santa with Jack Black and Red One with The Rock. Now, Dear Santa, not a horrible movie. It had a couple of amusing jokes, but it was pretty pitiful overall. And then Red One, I kind of liked it better when it was called The Night the Reindeer Died with Lee Majors. If you don't know what that is, watch the movie Scrooge. But seriously, Red One, I was thinking of The Night the Reindeer Died the entire movie, especially at the beginning when there's a hit squad coming into the North Pole. Well, I guess they're not exactly a hit squad, but a military squad. Now, Red One was not exactly terrible. There were a lot of amusing parts. There were some pretty cool action scenes. Acting wasn't terrible, although The Rock was just playing The Rock. And Chris Evans was just playing Chris Evans. What you typically expect when he's not Captain America. But they still made the naughty list. Not as bad as some of the others on this list, though. I will give it that. But once again, I did need to put something in here to fill the number 10 slot, and I just felt two Christmas movies was just icing on that cake. But anyway, let's get down to some other ones. Number 9 is Twisters. Oh my god. Now, I have never seen the original, and I mean, granted, there's nothing in this movie that even relates to the original as far as I know. But this movie was still a complete and utter snores fest. Like, characters I didn't care about. Sequences I didn't care about. Effects I just didn't care about. I mean, some of the tornado stuff was kind of cool, but it was pretty damn boring. And then, anyway, moving on to number 8. I'm not a fan of Gundam Seed Destiny. There are parts I love of Gundam Seed Destiny, but for the most part, I'm not a fan of it. However, I had hopes for Gundam Seed Freedom, given it had been like 20 years since the Gundam Seed Destiny. I thought maybe they would have corrected all the mistakes they made, but nope, it was still crap. Now, granted, I won't say it's the worst Gundam thing I've ever seen, but it was crap. There was no development for the villains. They had all these things going on that was like, what are you even talking about? And the new dub was pretty, how should I put it? Stiff, I guess is the best way to put it. The dub was stiff. I don't like how the Mu LaFlaga's voice actor is the original voice actor, even though everyone else was from the new dub. Didn't make much sense to me. But yeah, so Gundam Seed Freedom. Although, obviously it's not as bad as my number 7 pick, which, if... I never thought I would find a slasher movie that revolved around the point of view of the killer to be an utter bore fest. And then I watched In a Violent Nature. Oh my god. What the hell were they thinking? It's like whoever created this movie wanted to create a Friday the 13th movie, did not have the money to buy the license to Friday the 13th, and did not have the money to actually give the movie a soundtrack. So they just said, fuck it, we're just going to release it as a generic slasher movie with no music whatsoever and call it good. And it was boring as all hell. Not Jason was boring. His kill scenes were crap. Like, I don't even know how you could make a scene where the killer takes a girl's head, punches through her stomach, pulls her head using a rope, pulls her head through her stomach to the other side of her body, and have it be so fucking boring. Oh my god. How does that scene be boring? That scene should have been incredible. It still boggles my mind on how it was boring. I don't know if it was because the actress just seemed like, oh, I'm dying, oh no, I'm dying, oh, or what. But my god, that death scene should have been amazing, and instead it was like, oh, okay, that was boring as hell. Now, there were some cool things with the camera work, because the camera would actually follow him from behind. Made me think of the Friday the 13th video game, when you're playing as Jason with the camera behind Jason. But yeah, overall, this movie was even more boring than Twisters. Worse, we watched Twisters and this movie back to back. I'll tell you, Friday night was a very boring night. Or Thursday night. Whichever night we watched them on. And now, number 6. I think this was the first horror movie of the year. And that was Night Swim. Another boring as all frickin' hell movie. In fact, that's kind of going to be a running theme now for the rest of this list, is boring. Because you know what? There's a difference between so bad it's good and boring. You know what? Imaginary. Pretty bad, but it was so bad it had parts that were good. Night Swim. Okay. And number 5. We have The Watchers. This probably would have worked as like a 30-40 minute premise, but when you made it like an hour and 40 minutes, it was way too long. Like, this would have probably been a good Twilight Zone episode, but as a full-length movie, not so much. The actors were pretty awful. The concept was kind of dumb. And, well, I shouldn't say the concept. The execution was dumb. And the last act was a complete mess and total garbage. Not good at all. Number 4. The worst superhero movie. No, actually, it's not the worst superhero movie I've seen this year. But Madam Web was kind of bad. In fact, you know what word I'm going to say, right? Right? Boring. Yes. Boring. So boring. Like, it's a superhero movie that forgot to put the superheroes in it. It's like they took season 3 of Heroes and made it worse. Like, if I wanted to watch superheroes in boring ass plain clothes, I would have watched Heroes. I watched Madame Web to see superheroes. But then again, they screwed up Madame Web right from the get-go because she wasn't old, she didn't have her chair, and they made Ezekiel be a villain when Ezekiel is not totally a freaking villain. So yeah, Madame Web was awful. Could have been worse though. Could have been worse. Because number 3 is The New Salem's Lot. I've never read the book. I've only seen the original movie, or I guess technically TV miniseries, once, but it was fairly good. I enjoyed it a lot. This new remake, not good at all. There was no build-up. There was no suspense. They introduced Barlow like in the first 20 minutes of the movie that completely takes any mystery away. The last act that they redid was utter trash. I don't know what they were thinking. All I know is it was, no. And there were things that were occurring in the movie where you felt like you were missing scenes from the movie. Like that there was a whole sequence that was just gone. Because there were things being said like, how did you find that out? When did you learn that? What? What are you talking about? So yeah, Salem's Lot, bad movie. Number 2, which I just watched today, depending on when you see this, I guess technically on Sunday when I'm recording, but we originally were going to watch Borderlands. Could you watch Borderlands? And I was like, oh, there's this new movie called Night Bitch that's supposed to be a really good horror movie on. Let's watch that instead. Whoever said Night Bitch was a horror movie is a freaking moron. There is nothing horror about this movie at all. Actually, no. Correction. The only thing horrifying about this movie is how damn boring it was. It's about a woman who is getting exhausted from taking care of her kid because her husband works all the time, and she starts turning into a dog. Don't even ask. Don't even waste your time. It's not worth it. I was this close from making it number 1. This close. I am going to have a dishonorable mention because, well, these movies, this pair of movies are technically 2023 movies, but they came out in America in 2024. So I'm putting them on the dishonorable mentions list, but they were complete dog shit, and that is Sailor Moon Cosmos. As a Sailor Moon fan, I am so disgusted with the way Crystal turned out in the long run. Making the Supers arc and Stars arc into movies just did not work. They make the early seasons of Crystal look well paced with how rushed they are. Cosmos, complete dog shit. Alright, so the number 1 pick. It's kind of funny because the actor from this movie was the actor in my number 1 pick for best of. And that is Bill Skarsgård. And this movie, if you can't guess it now, it is The Crow. I have never seen the original movie. I have never read the comic book. What I do know is this movie was exactly. I don't even know where to start with this one. It starts out with some girl talking on the phone, freaking out over something that happened. She then gets arrested, and then she's in jail, and she meets a guy who basically looks like Pennywise cosplaying as Jared Leto's Joker. and they go running out, and they become lovers, they screw each other, they go to parties, they go camping. But wait, here's the thing though. All that happened in the span of like 2 to 3 days. I'm not kidding. Their plotline seemed like it was going on for months. But then we cut to the villain who has like one sentence of backstory and that's it. We don't actually get any development for him. All the stuff going on with the villains was happening in the span of 2-3 days. And they die. He comes back to life to get revenge. And a bunch of random stuff happened. He's killing people that works for this gangster who is basically the Purple Man from Jessica Jones or the Marvel Universe, because he can tell people what to do, and they just listen to him. Like, he tells a lady to jump out the window, and she jumps out a window. Tells a lady to slice her neck, and she slices her neck. So he's basically the Purple Man, but he apparently got his powers from the devil, but they never actually go into details on it. And it's a shame because I forget this actor's name, but it's a really big waste of his talents. He was in the X-Men Wolverine Origins movie as Stryker, and then he was in American Horror Story Coven as the X-Man. I like this actor. He's pretty underrated, and he was horrible here. Clearly, he was doing this for a paycheck, but then everybody in this movie was clearly doing it for a paycheck, and none of it made sense. I didn't understand a thing going on. I was bored. And the only sequence I kind of liked was a shootout in an opera house, but how do movies like this even get made? And from what I heard, it was not remotely accurate to the comic book at all, which is kind of funny because from what I hear, the writer or director was saying they were going to be completely accurate to the comic book compared to, I guess, the 90s movie was not. And then now I'm hearing that this is not remotely accurate at all. So I'm very confused. All I know is The Crow was the worst experience I had this year. Although Night Bitch was very, very close. So, what are your worst movies of 2024? Have you watched any of the crap on my list? If so, what did you think of them? Do you think that all the movies I put, are you like, oh my god, dude, your taste in movies suck. These are like the best movies of the year. Let me know in the comments and click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support me. You can support me on Patreon and Bluesky at tokuaannetwork, Facebook, Instagram, Discord at kaiju no kami, and my website creativitybydesignllc.com. You can buy cool kaiju no kami merchandise at creativitybydesignllc.com/shop. There's also a link in the description below. And until next year, bye.